Hello everyone, how are you doing? I hope you're great. So in this video I want to show you how to create this door. So as you can see, we can open and close the door, and we have the latch. So if the latch is not locked, we can open and close the door, but we can interact with the latch. We can lock the latch, as you can see, and now we cannot open the door. So this is what I'm going to show you in this video. But before, if you do like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe so you don't lose any new content. And without further ado, let's start. Okay, so I'm here in Unreal Engine 5.5 in a first-person template, and I just get rid of the gun and I added this simple crosshair in the middle of the screen, as you can see. First, let me show you some assets that we're gonna use in this project. So I have a model for the door itself, this one. I have one for the door frame and two separated pieces for the door latch. This one here to put in the frame, right? And this one for the door itself. And this one is a skeleton mesh because we're gonna apply some animations on this model. And you can download these models in the description below. And for the animations, I have this one closing the latch, and this is not looping. I have this one is just idle closed, right? And this is looping. I have this one opening the latch, this is not looping, and finally another one for the idle, the open and idle, right? And this is looping. So the first thing that we need to do is change the collisions for the door and door frame. So starting with the door, you can either put a simple box collision on this or use a complex collision, because we need the collisions to really match the shape of the door. So for this tutorial I will use complex collisions. So to add this, just open the static mesh that you have. So for me is this one, and just scroll down until you see the collision category, and here you will find the collision complexity. Just change this to use complex collision as simple. And now to visualize this, you can go to show and complex collisions, and as you can see, these collisions is a little bit more precise. And we need to do the same for the door frame. So just open the door frame model that you have, and in collision complexity, change to use complex collision as simple. And again, you can visualize this by going to show complex collisions, and as you can see, now we can pass through this door frame. First, we need to create an interaction system to be able to interact with the door. So for that, we need to create an interface. So just go to the folders, and here in blueprints, I will create a new one for interfaces. Let's open this, and here let's create the interface. So just right click and go to blueprint interface. I will name this BPI interactable. So everything that it is interactable will have this interface. So let's open this. And here we need to create a function. So we already have this function here. Let's just rename this to interact. And this is basically all we need to do here. And now let's create a custom component for the interaction. So let's go back to the folders, and here in blueprints, I will create a new one. Let's name this components. Let's open this, and here let's create the component. So just right click and go to blueprint class, actor component, and I will name this BPC for blueprint component interaction. And now let's open this to make some code. And here let's create a function to interact. So here in functions, just create a new one. I will name this interact. And first we need to do a sphere trace by channel. So just right click and type sphere trace by channel. Let's get this one here, sphere trace by channel. Let's connect the execution pin. And first we need to give this a start location. So we need to use the player camera, right? So to get the player camera, just right click and type get player camera manager, this one here. And from this we can get the location. So just drag from the return value and type get camera location. And this is the start location, right? And for the end location, we need to first get the forward vector of this camera. So from the camera manager here, just drag and type get forward vector, this one here, get actor forward vector. And we need to multiply this with some interaction distance. So I will create a variable for that. So here in variables, just create a new one. I will name this interaction distance. distance like so. Let's change the type here to float. Let me compile to set the default value. So I will put here 450, right? So now we just need to multiply this forward vector with this interaction distance, like this. And to get the end vector here, we just need to add this vector here with the camera location. So just drag the camera location and type add, and connect this second vector here in the second pin, and this is the end location. Now we need to connect a radius for this sphere trace by channel. So I will create a variable for that. I will name this interaction radius. Let me compile to set the default value. I will set this to 1. And now we just need to connect this interaction radius in the radius of the sphere trace by channel. Okay, so now we need to deal with the return values of the sphere trace by channel. So first we need to check if we actually hit something. To do this, let's use this return value. So just drag and type branch to connect like so. So basically this will be true if we hit something and false otherwise, right? So let's drag from the out hit here and let's break this so we have all the informations about what we hit, right? And the order here is important. First, we need to check for the component, and then if we don't have a component, we will check for an actor. So first I want to check if this component implements the interactable interface. So basically if it is interactable, right? To do this, just drag from the hit component and type does object implement interface, this one here. Let's select the interface here, which is the BPI interactable, and this is a boolean, so let's connect in a branch and let's connect from the true. So basically if we hit something, we will check if it is a component and if implements the interactable interface, right? So if not, we will check for the actor. So let's drag from the actor here and let's type does object implement interface. And again, let's select the correct interface, which is the BPI interactable, and this is a branch. Is a boolean actually. Let's connect in a branch from the false this time, right? So basically, if we have a component, we will check for the component first, and then if we don't have, we will check for the actor, right? And now let's deal with these true cases here. So first, let's start with the component, right? So let me just make some room here. So if this object implements the interactable interface, we need to call the interact function. So let's drag from the component here. Remember, we are doing for the component first. So just drag from the component and type interact. And you should have this interact function here from the BPI interactable interface. So let's select this function and let's connect here in the true case. So basically, if we hit something and it is a component that implements the interactable interface, we will call the interact function. Let me just add a reroute here, like so. And now we need to do the same for the actor. So if the actor implements the interactable interface, we need to call the interact, but this time from the actor, right? So let me just make some room here. Let's drag from the actor, and here let's type interact, the same one, this from the BPI interactable interface, but this time from the true here, right? Let me just make a reroute right here. Let me connect here, and there we go. This is basically the function that we need to do. Now we need to call this function when we press an interaction key. So first we need to create an input. So let's go back to the folders and let's go to input, actions. Here let's create a new action. So just right click and go to input, input action. I will name this IA interact, like this. And now let's go back to input and let's open the input mapping context default, this one here. Let's add another mapping. So just click on the plus. Here we need to select the action that we want, so IA interact. And now if we expand this, we can select the key. So for me, I will just click on this keyboard and press E. So for me, I will use the E key, right? Now let's save and let's go back to the interaction component. So here in the interaction component, let's just go back to the event graph. Let me just delete these events here. Here, just right click and type IA interact to get the input, this one here. And now we just need to call the function. So just drag the interact function in the graph and connect from the completed pin, this one here. And there we go. This is all we need to do for the interaction component. Now let's add this interaction component in the player character. So let's go back to the folders and let's open the character, this one, the first person character. Let's open this, and to add the component, here in components, just click on add and type the name of the component. So BPC interaction. And now let's compile and save, and to test this, let's go back to the interaction. In the interact function, here in the sphere trace by channel, let's enable the debug. So here in draw debug type, let's change this to for duration. Let's compile and save, and now if we hit play, we should have the line trace when we press E. And as you can see, we have. So this is basically how we're going to interact with things. So because there's nothing interactable here, nothing is happening, but now we can create the door itself. Now let's create the door blueprint. So let's go back to the folders, and here in blueprints, I will create a new one for the door, like this. Let's open, and here let's create the blueprint. So just right click and go to blueprint class, and for this door, I will create it as a pawn. So let's select pawn here. And I will name this BP door, like this. Let's open and let's start adding the models that we want. And I'm creating this as a pawn just to make it easier to work with animations, right? So let's add the models. So here in components, let's search for static mesh. Let's get this one. I will name SM door frame. Let's start with the door frame. So here in the static mesh, just select, of course, the door frame. I will just rotate this 90 degrees like so. Let's add the door now. So just select the default scene HUD here, and in components add another static mesh. Let me name this SM door. And in the model here, let's select the door, of course. I will rotate this 90 degrees as well. And let's just change the location here to fit this door frame. Let me disable the snapping here. Maybe something like this. Let me see. A little bit to the left here. A bit more. And there you go. So basically like this. And as I showed you before, the latch is two separated pieces. So here first, let's add the door frame one, right? So let's add as a child of the door frame. So select the door frame, and here in components, let's add another static mesh. I will name this SM door frame latch, like this. And here in the static mesh, I will select the door frame latch, this one, right? And now we just need to put this in the correct location. So let me just put it right here, like so. So let me just rotate 90 degrees. Let's rotate it 90 degrees here as well. Let me make it something like this. And here. There you go. And the other part, we will create a custom skeleton mesh component for the other part, right? So for now, this is all we need to do here. So now let's implement the interaction with this door. So to implement this, first let's add the interactable interface. So let's click on class settings, and here in implemented interfaces, let's add the BPI interactable, this one here, right? And now if we expand these interfaces here, we have the interact function to implement. So let's go to the event graph and let's delete all these events here. Now let's double click on the interact to implement it, and as you can see, we have the event here. So first we need to create a variable. So here in variables, let's create a new one. I will name this is closed, right? And this is a boolean, so that's okay. Let's compile and save. And by default, this needs to be true. So is closed true, right? Let me compile again. So first we need to create a branch with this boolean. So just drag in the graph like so. Let's add in a branch and connect it here. So basically, if this is true, that means that the door is closed and we need to open, right? And if it is false, is open and we need to close. So for that, I will create a timeline. So let's do this. To create the timeline, just right click and type add timeline. And I will name this door timeline, like this. And let's double click this to implement. So first let's change the length here to 1, so basically 1 second, right? And let's click on the plus track here. Let's add a float track. I will name this flow track as alpha, like this. And to add points in this graph, just hold shift and click to add a value, as you can see. So this first one, let's put 0 on the time and 0 on the value, as you can see. Just hold shift and click again to add another point. And this one will be 1. So basically here, and the value will be 1 as well. So to frame this curve, just press F, and as you can see, now we're going from 0 to 1 if we play this in the correct rate, right? But if we reverse this, we will go from 1 to 0. So this is what we want. Now let's compile and save, and let's close this timeline. And as you can see, we have this alpha value here. So now, first, before connecting in the door timeline, we need to change the isClosed variable. So let's just hold Alt on the keyboard and drag the isClosed variable to create a set node. And basically, if this is true, that means that we are opening the door. So let's set the isClosed to false. And if this is false, that means that we are closing the door. So we need to set the isClosed to true again. And there you go. Now we can connect. So basically, if it is true, we need to open the door. So we will play the timeline, right? But if this is false, that means that we are closing the door. So we need to reverse the timeline. So let's connect on the reverse. Right? And now we just need to use this alpha in a lerp node. So just right click and type lerp. Let's get this one here, and this alpha will go in the alpha like this. So now we just need to put the A and B values. To get those values, let's go back to the viewport and let's select the door, this one here, right? So as you can see, now the Z value is minus 90. Let me just put minus 90 here. So this is basically the A value. So let's put here minus 90, right? And now let's open this door to get the value. So let me just open this right here. So I will put minus 169 like this, right? Let me just go back to the event graph here and let's put on the B, so minus 169. And there you go. These will be the values. Let me just go back here and change this back to minus 90. Let's compile and save. And now we just need to set these new values as the timeline updates, right? So to do this, just drag the SM door in the graph, and from this, just type set relative rotation. Let's get this one here, set relative location. Let's connect from the update. And now we need to split this new rotation. So just right click and click on split struct pen. And now we need to connect this on the Z rotation, so in the yaw here. And there you go. Let's compile and save, and this should be working. So let's test this. Let's go back here to the map and let's put the door in the map. So let me hit play. Now if we press E on the door, as you can see, the door is opening and closing. So this is basically working. So now as you can see, we can't pass through the door. This is because the character capsule is way too large. So let's change that. Let's go back to the character blueprint, this one here, first person character. Let's select the capsule component and let's change the capsule radius. So let me just decrease a little bit here like this. Let's compile and save, and now let's test again. So we can open the door and pass through the door, as you can see. So this is working. And I actually have some sounds for the door, so let's use that. Let's go back to the door here, and before using the timeline here, let's play the sounds. So I will just spawn a sound here. So let's type spawn sound sound 2D. I will use the 2D here, but of course you can spawn a 3D sound with attenuation and all that fun stuff. But for this tutorial, I will just use a 2D sound. So here in the sound, let me just select the correct one. So I have this one and this other one. So let me select the first one here. I will change the volume pitch here, the volume multiplier actually, to 0.5. And now let's do the same for the false here. So let me just connect in the false. Let me just connect in the reverse here, and I will change this to the second one just to have some variation. Let me compile and save, and now if we hit play again, we should have the sounds, as you can see. So this is working. And now let's create the door latch custom component. So to do this, let's go back to the folders in components, and here let's right click and go to blueprint class. actor component, and I will name this BPC door latch like this. Let's open this, and first we need to change the parent class of this actor, right? Of this component actually. So to do this, just go to class settings, and here we have the parent class. Let's change this from actor component to skeletal mesh component, this one here. Let's compile and save, and now if we go to the class defaults, we can select a default skeletal mesh. So here, let's select the door latch, this one here, right? Let's compile and save, and now we just need to do some code. So first we need to add the interactable interface, because of course we need to interact with this door latch as well. So here in class settings, let's add the interface here. Let's search for BPI interactable, and now we have access to the interact function. Now we need to save the current state of this door latch, and to do this, let's use a variable. So here in variables, let's create a new one. I will name this is locked like this, and of course by default this should be false, right? So now let's double click on the interact to implement this function, right, this event. And first we need to check the current state of this latch. So let's drag the is locked in the graph, and let's connect in a branch like this. So basically, if this is true, we need to set it to false, and if it is false, we need to set it to true, right? So let's create a set node. So just hold Alt on the keyboard and drag the variable to create a set node. And if this is true, we need to set it to false. And if it is false, we need to set it to true, like this. So now we need to dispatch this new information to the door itself. And to do this, let's use a event dispatcher. So here in event dispatcher, let's create a new one. I will name this on change like this, and we need to give this a input. So just select the dispatcher here, and in the details we have this inputs category here. Just click on the plus. So let's name this new state, something like this, and this is a boolean. So now we just need to call this dispatcher. So just drag in the graph and click on call like this. So let's call from both ways here, like so. And the new state is the variable here, so is locked. Let's drag and connect here. And there you go. This is all we need to do in the door latch custom component. And I'm creating this latch as a custom component, so you can add this latch on every door that you want, right? And now let's go back to the BP door so we can add the door latch. So I will add this as a child of the door here. So just select the door, and in components just add the BPC door latch. And now we just need to put this in the correct location. So I will select the door frame latch here, and I will copy the location. So just right click here and copy. And now let's go to the door latch and paste the values like so. So now I will just put more close like this. Let me just change the rotation 90 degrees here, and on the X as well, like this. And now let me just put on the door and a little bit down. And there it goes. So now we have the door latch with the custom logic, right? And now let's go back to the event graph so we can update some things here. So first we need the isLocked variable here as well. So here in variables, let's create the isLocked variable. And of course, we will open or close. So basically we will do all this if the door is not locked, right? So let me just make some room here. And let's drag the isLocked variable in the graph. Let's connect in a branch. Let me just connect here. And we will do this from the false here. So basically if the door is not locked, and by default, of course, the isLocked should be false. Let's compile and save. And now we need to change this isLocked variable every time that the door latch changes, right? So as you may remember, if we go back to the door latch, we created this onChange event dispatcher. So if we go back to the door and select this door latch, so here in the details, if we scroll down, you will see that we have this onChange event here. So let's just click on the plus, and as you can see, we have the door latch onChange with the new state. So now we just need to call to set actually this isLocked variable based on this new state. And there you go. Let's compile and save, and let's test this. Actually, before testing, let's add some sounds so we know if this is working, right? So first I want to add a sound if the door is locked. So here, if this is true, I will spawn a sound 2D here. So the sound that I will spawn is this one, right? So this sound will indicate that the door is locked. Let me compile and save, and I will add a sound every time that we change the door latch as well. So here, let's spawn a sound 2D, this one here, and this sound will be this one here, right? Let's compile and save, and now we can test this. Actually, I forgot something in the door latch component, so let's go back to the door latch custom component here, and let's go to the class defaults, because we need to change the collisions, right? So let's scroll down until we see the collisions here. So the collision preset, let's change this to custom, right? And let's expand this. So first, the collision enable, let's select here query only, this one here, right? And we need to block the visibility. So the visibility channel here, let's block this. And there we go. Let's compile and save. And now we can test this. So now let's go back to the map and hit play to test this. So as you can see, now we have the latch here. So if I try to open the door, we can't open because it's not locked, right? So if I interact with the latch, as you can see, we have the sound, and if I try to open the door now, it's closed, as you can see. So if I interact again, now it's open and we can open the door. So now I will just add animations to the latch. First, we need a way to get the state of the door, if it is locked or not, right? So to do this, I will use an interface. So let's go back to the interfaces folder, and here let's create a new one. So go to blueprint interface, and I will name this BPI door, right? So let's open this and let's create the function. So the function here, I will name this get is locked, right? And this needs one output. So here in output, let's add one, and I will name is locked. Let me just change here. Is locked. Let's compile and save, and now let's implement this in the door. So let's go back to the BP door and let's add the interface. So just click on class settings, and here in implemented interfaces, let's add the BPI door. And as you can see, now we have the get is locked function. So let's double click on this to implement, and now we just need to return the is locked variable. So just connect here, and there you go. Now we can create the animation blueprint for the door. So now let's go back to the folders, and here in the door folder, I will create the animation blueprint for the door latch. So just right click and go to animation, animation blueprint, and select the door latch skeleton, of course, if you have one, right? So for me, I have this one here. Let's create, and I will name this ABP for animation blueprint and door latch like this. So now let's open and implement this. So first, let's get the isLocked state. To do this, let's go back to the event graph, and first let's create the variable. So here in variables, just create one, and let's name this isLocked. And now we need to get this information. So here, as you can see, we have the try get pound owner node. So from this, we can call the get isLocked function from the interface, right? So first, let's check if this is valid. So just drag from this node here and type is valid. Let's click on this one here. Let's connect the execution pin, right? And if it is valid, we will call the interface function. So let's just drag from this and type get is locked. Let's connect here, and we just need to set the variable with this new state. So let me just drag the variable here with a set node, right? Let's connect the execution pin and the is locked in the variable. Let's compile and save, and there we go. Now the animation blueprint knows if the door is locked or not. So now let's change the animations based on this isLocked variable. To do this, let's go to the anim graph, and here let's create a state machine. So just right click and type state machine. Let's select this one here, and I will name this main. So now let's double click on this to open, and here we need to create the states, right? So first, just right click and click on add state. I will name this open idle, right? So let's open this, and here we need to put the animation. So I have the open idle animation here. So let me just connect like so. let's go back to the main here and let's connect from the entry in this state. So now we need to create a closing state. So just drag from this state here and click on add state. I will name this closing, right? Let's double click to add the animation and I will add the latch close. This is the closing animation, right? So let me just connect here. Let's go back to the main and now let's create the close idle state. So let's drag from the closing, add a new state and I will name this close idle. Let's open this and now I will add the close idle animation, this one. Right, let's go back to the main and now we need to add the opening animation. So let's drag from the close idle, add a new state and I will name this opening. Let's double click on this and now I will add the latch open animation. Again, this is the opening animation, right? Let's compile and save. And from this opening here, we need to go back to the open idle like so. And this is basically all the states that we'll need. So now let's do the transitions, right? So from open idle to closing, we need to do this transition if the isLocked is true. So let's double click on this transition here and let's connect the isLocked in this can enter transition output here. Let's go back to the main and from the closing to close idle, let's select this transition and let's check this automatic rule here like this. From closing to opening, we need to do this transition if the isLocked is false. So let's double click on this transition, right? Let's drag the isLocked in the graph and from this let's type not boolean like this and let's connect here. So basically if this isLocked is false, right? Let's compile and save. And from the opening to the open idle, let's select this transition and check the automatic rule. Again, let's compile and save, and this is basically all we need to do. So now let's add this animation blueprint to the latch. So let's go back to the BP door, let's select the BPC door latch, and here in the anim class, just select the ABP door latch. Let's compile and save, and now we can test this. Actually, I forgot, but we need to go back to the anim graph and we need to connect this main state machine to the output pose, like this. Let's compile and save, and now we can definitely check. So now let's go back to the map and hit play. And now if we interact with the door latch, we should have the animations. And as you can see, we have the animations. So if it is open, we can open the door, right? And if we interact with the latch, as you can see, we have the animations and we cannot open the door, as you can see. So everything is working. And this is basically it for this video. I hope you learned something new with this and you can create your own doors for your games, right? So if you did like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe so you don't lose any new content. And as always, thank you for watching, keep learning, I'll see you in the next video.